As a brief recap of where we are when we launch our official beginning, it is at the culmination of the chaos and maelstrom as secrets in Dolton, where the trial of Naomi Stewart was taking place. Unlike other cities, unlike other areas, unlike other domains, Dolton really is a republic. It is not the Republican ideals of modern Americans. It is the Republic ideals of ancient Rome, where every person, every able-bodied person has a say in the outcome, whether their say is the defining happenstance or not. They do have an opportunity to say. And so it literally is popular vote as broken or assigned by the Dome in the Senate. So everyone showed up because there's nothing like a good burning or beheading to get everyone's juices riled. There's a summons of civic duty. So all of the kindred who are of any value have the opportunity to cash their say once the matter was settled. Unfortunately, in the midst of the matter being settled and decided, evidence presented, arguments being had, a fight broke out. That fight was separated and the perpetrators were downed and taken away for actual punishment because there is no deciding, there's no need to vote or decide when the evidence is so clear and blatant as the actual fight happening in Dolton's secondary Elysium. In the course of reconvening outside, there was a fireworks display. People were firing off M80s and firecrackers, Roman candles, and so most of the kindred really didn't pay too much of a mind because just like in Chicago and various other places where firearms are easily obtained, knowing the difference between a gun and a firework is pretty easy. It's a lot of gut instinct and guesswork, but it's still something that's easily done. So there wasn't any true concern until it turned out that in the midst of the fireworks were gunshots and a savage attack that unfortunately the kind got to first and were able to notify the police. And the last thing the kindred wanted to do is draw too much attention to themselves, so pretty much everyone had to amscray as quickly and safely as possible to vacate the premises because, well, even small though they might be, Dolton very much would enact an actual investigation. They would go door to door, they would canvass, they would check cameras, and it is best that the kindred not be nearby to be either interviewed, interrogated, or otherwise interdicted. In the pell-mell of everyone leaving and amscraying, Tyvin ended in the back seat of the newest senator, Concordia, and Zach Volkier, who is a smaller celebrity of sorts. They operate out of Riverdale, the wild, wild west of Riverdale. But all the same, Tyvin, Concordia, and Zach were easing away from the situation towards the Pisketeers. And while that was happening, Seth is in a limousine on the way to the big bad city. There's been a summons for all of the members of the Grand Chantry of the Midwest, i.e. the Chantry of Chicago. And when receiving a missive from the region of the leading preeminent chantry, it is bad form to do anything else but arrive. And I think that what wasn't stressed, that may have been looked over, is the source or the victim of the pell-mell and the scrum. While it was glossed over in post, We'll start with that dying of the light. We'll start with that, unfortunately, crossing over of Frost as a memorial to their efforts and to all of the great many things they could do for their Dominator and his coterie. And with that small recap, any questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we can round up?
I have a few questions as the new person.
Mm-hmm.
So, we were all a part of this trial, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Did it look like the verdict was going to swing? Was it like touch and go, like no one knew where it was going to go, or was there a clear outcome?
That is a good question. With the episode being up, I'll leave that for Tyvin to decide at a later date when you get a chance to look it over. But generalities in regards to what was taking place, for the most part, there's nothing definitive outside of one text message that ties Naomi specifically to the disappearance and believed murder of another kindred. That kindred being the person who should have been the newest senator. So there's a lot of questions as to whom, why, and why that person who had been groomed for the role was kept from it. Everyone knows that Giacomo is deceased, but everyone's playing at the polite misnomers of, oh, well, they're just missing. Oh, well, we're not sure. We believe they are, in fact, deceased, and we will operate as if they are. But everyone's holding out that macabre hope that it is just a hoax, that there was something else afoot. And you know how people's minds race with conspiracy theories and who's to blame in truth. So there's a lot of whiffling and waffling, a lot of scuttlebutt being happened. Oh, did you know that Giacomo was actually an ash dealer? Ash, what is that? Oh my goodness, this is a supernatural drug that actually works on kindred. You, for instance, could actually be altered and high without having to imbibe from filthy humans. Oh, really? And there was purportedly all of the guns and the files, and there's a lot of things that tied it properly. And so the gossip swells and circulates and folds in on itself. And for the most part, everyone's here just to see a good hanging. They'd love to see a member of the big city of the gleaming jewel of the Camarilla be taking a peg down, even if they're actually not the criminal mind. They maybe not be hoping for the final outcome of death, but they are hoping for, them to leave, Naomi to leave with a bit of egg on their face.
Okay, so it looks like, what seems like to me is that everyone just kind of was looking to see her get some form of comeuppance. It doesn't matter what it was.
Yes.
Okay. I just needed that clarification.
Tyvin being in the village for a while, because, past is the past and is still valid. Having been a member of Dolton, one of the things that would stand out is that Naomi, unlike most of the other individuals on the Senate who wield any local power, still holds sway and power in Chicago. So they're, in effect, double dipping. And so a lot of people have feelings one way or the other about that. Knowing that Naomi is a vindicate to the poor, she does take care of the homeless women and those who are falling on hard times, and has several halfway houses and shelters around the village. How would Tyvin lean in that particular case, knowing that, yes, she's double dipping on power, but she actually is tending to a flock of humans, specifically many attractive women who haven't had the opportunity to step themselves up, who haven't had the opportunity to do better for themselves?
I think Tyvin looks at it from the perspective of it's like you're doing a good deed, but you're going about it the wrong way. That's how he's looking at it. Like, he's commending her on her actions, but he knows that there's a better way she could have gone about this.
All right, sounds like a plan. Frost, Seth, any questions, suggestions, hypotheses?
Nope. I'm trapped in a limo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. Diving into that is relatively easy. You were in a shootout. You receive grievous harm and bodily injury at the hands of individuals who, by dint of lifestyle, by dint of blood, and by dint of their inability to function in normal society, are masters at causing pain, emotional, physical pain to themselves and the world around them. Part and parcel of the mentality of Gangrel as a whole, looking at it as a monolith, is their ability to survive on their own. They don't need anyone. They choose who they associate with. And it's a matter of strength every time that is, whether it's the strength of one's gab, being able to tell a good, true tale, making it interesting, or playing the dozens, ragging someone until they frenzy, at which point you have every opportunity to take them down several pegs, or skipping over the bullshit and just punching someone in the face to get the fight started. They are hardened, ardent survivors, and when those survivors breed into themselves, as this particular motorcycle club has, it is blood in and blood out. You and Rob not only embarrassed them in front of the entire width and breadth of notable members of the Kindred Society here in Dolton, meaning they'd have to drive around for the next few months, maybe the next few years, to avoid that embarrassment, but you also finished the job. When you all stopped firing, stopped slashing, stopped punching, their members were unable to move. They were dragged away by Dwayne's men. So they were seeking to avenge the death, because that's the only outcome for such a raucous display of aggression. So they'd come to avenge the death by taking Rob down. Frost was there and acting as an ally to Rob, which means that femoral artery slash, those bullet wounds, the slashes across the arms, the slashes that managed to cut through the armor on his chest, the slashes that severed his utility belt and bandolero and left him a bloody, pulpy mess cooling in the warm summer air, was designed to end him by association, because he did not flee, because he did have the heart to stay and fight with Rob, who was their true target.
I'm basically choking on blood right now.
No, it takes 5 minutes for someone to bleed out without any wounds with a wound to their femoral artery. Firing and his elevated heart rate will cut that down to 3 minutes. Average Dolton arrival time is 4 minutes and 16 seconds, even to an active shooter.
Well, like it said in the chat, he just started laughing. Like doing a choky laugh or as hard as he could.
Well, the end of things starts the way that it begins. We look at Frost's life. Hey, that may be a little bit much. Let's stop diving in just yet. We have not actually begun. So, with that being the case, I want to thank you all for being here. I have received a missive that I'm sorry, I do apologize, but Dia and Hestia will be on the way shortly. They're tying up things that are happening in real life for them. But all the same, it is a bit of magic when I do get to play. I really appreciate all of our episodes. I appreciate all of our time playing, both by post and our live plays. And thank you guys for being here. It is my no small pleasure in you all willing to sacrifice a little time to step into the land of make-believe with me. And with my thank yous out of the way, I'd like to...
Really wasting our time if we enjoy it?
That is a fair question.
You're already 20 times better than my previous storyteller, so aces to you, my guy.
Well, thank you very much. And with that being stated and out of the way, our appreciation for our time, I want to say this is officially In the Shadow of the White City, episode 1.5 for season 4. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. With that little update as to where everyone was, we are going to start in alphabetical order with Frost. Now, what most people don't realize is that there is a weight to the human soul. It's a weight that immediately vacates upon death. It is the weight of 3 nickels stacked on themselves. And that weight is instantaneously gone as the coughed, hacked, and slightly gurgly escapes Frost's lips. But in that moment, I'm looking out on the field of fucks that he had not grown, the barren fields of his inability to give more than half a damn and choose to flee instead of fight side by side with his ally. Even an ally he was dressing down in the moment. The torn bodies of the fallen, Rob crawling towards him. And then as the world blurs to a brightness that is inescapable, blocking every image, every vision, Frost thinks back to his daughter.
I forgot about my daughter.
Thinking on who is going to protect her. And worse, who is going to protect the people close to her? Who is going to protect the innocent people who have been trampled beneath the monstrous silent boot of the kindred to whom you are now privy to their truth? You realize now, in this fleeting moment between this world and the next, that not nearly every kindred is as humane as Seth. You have witnessed horrors in the association of Seth and his associates, those who are like him. But that's not really quite fair to Seth, because they are as much like Seth as the tiger is to the house cat. They're cruel and vicious. They hold grudges. They glom onto the savagery that is inherent in most people, but exponentially carried out when you have the rest of forever to torment your target, to destroy everything about them, save their physical, saving that for last, like some scrumptious morsel of a dessert. And realizing that the men, if you can call them that aligned themselves against Frost and Rob were very much that sort. The honor and nobility of being a gangrel was best exemplified to Frost by Rob. He was willing to fight and bleed for people he met less than a week ago. He was willing to fight and avenge a slight to their face, to their honor, a slight and affront that he meted out with all due savagery of protecting them from anything and everything that would come against them. If Frost could, what would he say to Rob?
We're in the shit now, aren't we?
And that bravado of And that bravado of thought carries Frost into that bright, all-consuming whiteness. And the moment the idea of peace settles in, there's a burning in his gut. A burn that heats everything around it. He can feel the cuts becoming infected. He can feel the bullet wounds searing with cordite. He can feel the chill of the air magnified to the point where every breeze causes that fire in his stomach to expand. And it's not the nice, warm hearth fire of someone's stove. It is not the warm fire of a crackling fireplace. It is a fire that demands pain. It is a fire that demands being fed on all of the foul, monstrous thoughts that had over. It is a fire that demands a blatant, unbridled honesty of self. And that honesty is man, living vacuum, consuming all of the resources around it. And it's a fire that demands he become just that.
Wait, so am I at full power now? Full power, quote unquote?
You feel limitless. You feel as if there is nothing that you can't do, nothing that you won't do. And there's an emptiness that is vibrating through every fiber.
Those other vamps still there attacking us?
There's nothing but brightness around you. You are in a with no light, but all light. You're in a room where your body has no volume measure. You're in a space where reality is a dream within a fantasy.
I give a big sniff.
The absence of everything is the everything of absence. You can't even smell your very much out-of-date jupe cologne that you were wearing.
Wait, am I in heaven?
If the absence of everything would be heaven, yeah, you might be. There's a very real idea that you just might be in your just desserts.
So it's literally just like a white catbird, right?
Yeah, let's go with that. That's a good definition. That's a good way that Frost's mind grasps and deals with the unknowable nothing, the limitless void of everything.
I just start walking forward and forward march.
Excellent. Without any balance or star to guide by, Frost attempts to exert the efforts to move forward into the nothingness. And as he moves forward, a E-styled limousine slides along the expressway up the Dan Ryan towards Garfield Boulevard, 55th Street. Instead of getting off on 55th, the limousine slides along to 47th and gets off, bypassing most of the congestion as the checkers there acts as a landmark, as the many people still bustling by at this hour of the evening would surprise most with any semblance of decorum. It is very much the same thing at 47th. There are people moving to their third shift jobs or leaving their second shift jobs. There is a bustle and a vibrancy that is missed nearly everywhere else in the city at this hour. Bills gotta be paid, mouths gotta be fed, people gotta work. So as the limousine eases off at 47, taking that right, heading east, the confluence of people at the various bus stops and moving in and out of various stores, most of which seem to be liquor stores or churches at this hour of the evening, which is weird. Not too weird for Seth because he realizes there is a network of individuals who use churches for their own ends. He's dealt with some of them. And Rich you're in the void. We're on 47th. There is a difference between the two places. Seth is in the limousine with Regent Rich as it eases across the southern landscape of New City and slides over to where the projects once were there at 47th and moves past until they reaches Cottage Grove, making that right, circling south. It's a fairly circuitous route to get to the primary chantry, but with all of the social manipulations and rushing the repairs, it is a prize that is actually operational. There are acolytes tending the grounds. There are people moving about the place as Regent Richard dresses McClary. Bolstered as we are, Seth, I think it's best that we not partake of any refreshments until whatever is to happen tonight is. I hope that it is not the little stone and the grandstanding.
No, you're right. I won't be taking anything in. Don't want to dilute whatever favors this Vitae offers.
Oh, the favors it will offer. Primarily, it will bolster any defenses you have naturally practiced against mental manipulations. Also take effect in bolstering your defense against social manipulation. With any luck, it should not come to that, but the rumors of Golgotha have not proved to be the kindest with our particular family.
Well, I'm here to follow your lead on this one.
No, it's not that sort of thing. Take me about it, yes. But as an expert in security issue and the like, if it should come to it, I believe you are far more well versed in physically ensuring that we escape. So should you find something that is worthy of my attention and worthy of us beating feet, spanking planks, escaping, or excellent most directly, please take the lead.
Oh, absolutely. When it comes to running away and shooting in a retreat, I've got you covered.
Oh, I don't like the idea of running away. Excellent is stylish. Classy. It's from the bar. I believe that what we will be doing, if it comes to it, is attacking in the other direction.
Noted. I believe the term is tactical advance to the rear.
Yes, I like that very much. As you all step out of the limousine, you realize that you are not the only notable warlocks from the Midwest. Not just Chicago, but the Midwest. The reputation of Tessa of Milwaukee is not unfounded. She unseated her regent, Karna, who pursued and is pursuing the idea of sharing thaumaturgy and all of its many other disciplines with those who show an interest, not necessarily even a skill.
How egalitarian of her.
Worse, Karna's knowledge came because she managed to be the first of her generation to break the ties and bond to the primary chantry in Vienna. She had escaped the very basis of ensuring that only those worthy and who had proven themselves were able to even have the opportunity to learn the deeper arts. Some feel that Karna's action was the harbinger of what happened to twist the blood, making it far less effective. Contessa managed to wrest control and drive Karna from the city before things could be leveled against her, before actions could be taken, and before the prince could even intervene. Tessa is the reason why Karna's secrets did not fall into other hands immediately. She became a minor celebrity because of that. However, she is here in Chicago visiting the primary chantry, the grand chantry, as many accuse it of being. Only those in the know understand that the grand chantry isn't as grand as most people believe. The grand chantry is actually a throwback in terms of style. Even when it was built, it was harking back to the late Art Deco interior, while having the colonnades of ancient Rome and Greece styled out front around the facade of the building. It is the library there just at the end of 50th that most people don't realize is in fact a repository of esoteric and supernatural knowledge. And it is the home of the Tremere of Chicago, that it is the base of power for the warlocks of the Midwest, both in physical form as well as emotional. It is a landmark. It is a stone upon which many things can be built. And his recent victimization at the hands of arsonists was a black eye to the Tremere. Rich stands looking and watching for a second, noting, seeing those who are entering. You have several notable Tremere, all of with some reputation of sorts. There's Hestia Green of the Shelter, the only, at this time, only officially recognized member of Camarilla with any authority as a hound to the prince's will. There is the former regent of El Paso, recently alighted here in Chicago. There is Michael Dubiard, who was believed to be the right-hand adjutant for Sylvia until striking out on his own. His specialty being transmogrification, changing the body without changing the body, masking what is with what one believes. And then the elusive Nazira. Nazira, as far as anyone can tell, is not actually Tremere. Nazira, as far as anyone can tell, is actually an unaligned who has managed to adhere and assume status as Tremere. She has managed to tap into an older path and being kept around for various reasons. So much so that her having been kept around granted her the regency of her little out-of-the-way village. And as you take it all in and watch the luminaries of the blood entering into the your face takes on a mind of its own. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and your resolve and composure? Because stepping out of an Uber, adjusting his trench coat, making sure his gloves are snug, and remembering that he left something, stops the car and removes his key from the back seat. His horn. You manage not to blanch. You manage to not show the myriad of thoughts bouncing around your head, but that is unequivocal foreign.
I lean over to Rich. Rich, you didn't say my sire would be here today.
I didn't believe that he would show. I'm very glad. It makes things a lot easier. There will be 3 of us, shall we? And with that, he moves closer to Orin. Master, it is a pleasure to see you. And he sends his hand. He and Orin look at both Rich's hand, and then they clasp each other like old classmates who haven't seen each other in years. Orin breaks his embrace of Rich and looks at you, a light smile dancing on his. I see you're staying as classy as ever.
Well, recent business has made me hang around with the roses far too much, but I did not know you were back from your travels, sire.
And it is a bit of a surprise, but predominantly one requested by Regent Rich and Regent Busable. I doubt it there was much choice in me saying no. I've recently left Milwaukee with Tessa. It seemed for quite some time that there was the residual emanations of what we can only hazard a guess as an actual lodestone. I don't believe that it was specifically an entire block, but I do believe that it was a large enough piece that, well, you know how dangerous something that can break the bonds. Well, we'll talk about this later. Let's get inside and get a... You know how these things tend to be congested, and there's never enough comfortable seating.
Of course. I'll let you two lead and talk a bit.
Oh, no. It's been ages since we've had the opportunity to be in the same time. Were you aware there's a lodestone in the area? He looks to Rich. Rich just smirks.
We'd heard rumors.
Oh my goodness, it is not just rumors. I traced through a dealer in Enochian artifacts that up until a few months ago, there was such a thing, such an item, an actual full-fledged, holy form stone from the first city in Indianapolis. It took several deep dives into various other, I'm not going to bore you with details, but following those steps led me to Milwaukee. I cannot believe how from Indianapolis to Milwaukee, which means to my way of thinking that whoever was in possession of it initially managed to break Enochian stone into several large portions, which means that if we are able to find the one and where they originated, we should be able to find the others to reconstruct an actual full-fledged stone from the first city. Not just part, not just pebbles. And with that, he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a Mickey Mouse pocket watch and hands it to you. Open it. You will lose your mind. Open it. And he takes a step back as he says so.
I make sure that I'm at least a step back from both of these very important people before I crack it open.
Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your resolve and occult?
I actually have a cold now. Woo! Resolve was never the issue.
You open the watch, and instead of a watch face, for a split second, you see a Middle Eastern savanna. There are hills and rolling trees of cypress. There is a scent on the wind that is decidedly not here. And as you glance upward, there is a sky full of stars and constellations that make no sense for where you are standing. Realizing that this can't be real, thinking that it can't be real, you summon what composure you have, your ability to defend yourself, and you are closing the watch. but not before seeing in the center of what should be a watch face, there is a stone roughly the size of the tip of a pin cap sitting there. And as you close the watch, you realize that it is in fact an entire copper setting. You realize that the chain is interwoven with copper and jewels, which are designed to abate and break signals and to hold things solidly.
You carry this around with you?
Of course, who else could I trust it to?
I don't know. A big metal box at the bottom of the ocean that only you know where is?
There are things in the ocean. Many things in the ocean. But yes, this is just a small, minuscule portion. It did require several boons and several less than savory means to obtain. However, I have this, which if I am lucky, and if we are able to find the region of El Paso, her ability to track and lock on to the spiritual emanations of such things should be of the most beneficial use.
I think you have something there. I think you definitely have a plan of action that would get where you need to go.
Yes, I hear so much about this Melinda Cross. I am hoping that the elevated gossip of children, very depressing to me. They are not as skilled or not as free to assist as I need. Can you imagine finding a larger conflagration of these stones, able to break the boundaries of almost anything that comes into contact with them? Words mean nothing. Ley lines mean very little. The bonds inflicted by the vinculum of those dastardly sword members mean nothing. We could, if properly applied after several months, years, decades of study, we could use it to allay any of those aligned against or are. Imagine if you could strip the power of another's so completely and thoroughly they would be as kind.
That would be a power to be used, but it would be one that is coveted.
Yes, that's the reason why I would like to keep this within our blood. Keep this within our control. We can't allow any others to fall prey to its power. You know what those dastardly patricians or sensates or those cracked mirrors might do with such a power.
I can think of what the Venture would make of it. They would make it a golden shackle to control every other bloodline on Earth.
Yes. Well, so too would we, but it is better our hand at the wheel than someone else's.
And as a group, we tend not to flatten areas with salt and fire when we go through it.
Oh, yes. There's no sense in destroying more than just the people. We can use their resources. Why be so wasteful? I never understood that aspect of them. Let's get inside. And Rich, you must tell me your ability to the experiment you're working on. Oh, yes, it actually has worked. Your child actually helped. Did it work? Yes, we were able to reach inside a kindred's mind from a distance of several miles. Now, of course, if we apply that principle on a larger scale, we should be. Perhaps we should talk about this later. We are not in complete freeze. And with that, you all head in amongst the luminaries of the clan, amongst the luminaries of certain aspects of the kindred society outside of the clan. Having a hound presence is, well, that's pretty damn official. And as you all take your seats, we switch to Tyvin. Now, settling into the car, there are three things that stand out. One, you are definitely not using that car service again. Two, what fool in their right mind would intercede in such a grievous and graphic manner. A stone's throw steps from where the gathered kindred of Dolton were conducting business. It's bad form in this entirely. And 3, you'll be damned. The senator, the newest ascended senator of Dolton, is driving their own car.
She's driving the vehicle?
She is.
That's strange. But he won't say anything. He will look over to her like, thank you so much for the pickup. I was expecting to have such odd complications tonight.
Of course, none of us will. I do thank you so much for your presence and your company. However, we are heading somewhere safe. I'm not sure exactly how much you are aware of but we'll make you more aware of it. First, an enlightenment to safety. The short drive from Secrets to the Piscateers is surprisingly long, taking the Circuits' route down and around, circling back up and over, and coming in from the east side of the village instead of down on. It takes a few moments for you all to get there, and instead of pulling into the open and easy street parking, they pull around back into a actual private garage, which most people don't realize is there, just ahead of the lake, just southwest of the little man-made creek that is where many of the fishing club members actually cash their reels. The garage is mostly subterranean, so you have to drive down and into it. But once inside and exiting, you are seeing a different face of the Piscateers. Now, the Piscateers is very much a place of duality. As far as the village is concerned, it is your average in the day, wet your whistle neighborhood bar that happens to be named after a locally relatively famous fishing club. But what most don't realize, Piscateers Lounge is home to and seat of the illicit. It is a playhouse for those of discerning taste. It is a playhouse that has catered to council members, mayors, visiting senators, actual governmental U.S. government senators, local celebrities, as well as national celebrities who sneak in through the various hidden entrances to play in a place where cameras are not allowed, there's no videotaping, and where you can be the adult you've always wanted to be, so long as no one knew that's the sort of thing you're into. The staff has been trained to please in all manner of styles. One thing that is generally not easily accessible are donors who volunteer themselves. Playing with the donors here requires a considerable investment of money and favors, so most don't realize that as an option.
Okay. I think Tyvin looks to is it Cordelia or
Concordia White, but Dia to their friends and close associates.
Okay, so he will look to Miss White and go, this is a very welcome opportunity. Please, and he will hand her a black business card. On this card, it just says Luna's Caress, and it has just a phone number. If you ever need anything, please, my services are always available.
That is a good thing to be made aware of, Tyvin. I do remember the small bit of business that we took part in some time ago. How are things for you these days?
Pretty well. I have no grievous complaints about anything, just making sure that, my neck of the woods are very well kept and well mannered, as they should be.
I'm having a small issue with deciding how best to go about deciding on Naomi. Business must be handled, and I'm sure that you are aware that just because of interruption that her day in court isn't quite over, and that there will be more to come. How do you lead?
Do I weigh it? I couldn't hear you. Broke up there a little bit.
Yeah, the alert sounded. But yes, how do you lead?
Oh, I feel as if Madame Naomi, though her intentions may be noble at times, has overstepped her bounds in that manner and must be punished. Now, how harsh that punishment is in the air. But we can all agree that something has to be done about it.
Yes, unfortunately. I won't influence your decision, but it definitely seems as if there's something else afoot. There's something else in the happening, as there always is with our kind.
Sure. I would say this though. I do believe that she could possibly abdicate her positions here as a form of amends and just be done with that way. But as you say, other machinations of the foolhardy and all.
Indeed, I'm a bit worried. I really am. And unfortunately, our code member elsewhere entertained. I reached out to Seth, but I'm not sure. If you would be so kind, the Piscators has been closed these few days since Nicole's passing. You may, of course, help yourself to the few staff members that are present. I need to make several other phone calls.
Of course. By all means. I would like to also say once again, thank you.
Oh, but of course, you are of the blood. You are one of us. You are a good and outstanding sensate. Now, if you'll excuse me. And with that, they head into the office, easing your door closed. You expect a slam because even despite their calm exterior and composure, there's definitely some worry afoot. Now, being the sort of sensate that you are, gossip is power. It has been your bread and butter. The gossip of the world at large, the kindred that you're able to bring to your particular students and clients. Knowing what happened tonight, who is responsible if you are able to manage it, would be of inestimable value.
So what I'm getting at here is I don't know what to do this. So from all the things that I've been present to and I've heard thus far, it seems like that sorry. Did she look worried or nervous when she was talking to me, or was she just like, oh, this sucks?
No, there was definitely some bit of concern, and there was definitely some bit of worry, though most people would not notice it. The calm and composure is beyond reproach, but being so long amongst condensates, where the least flick of a hand, the cut of an eye could convey an entire sonnet of messages. It is apparent. Zach has settled into a chair and constantly is opening and closing their cigarette case and looking off into the distance. That too has its own messages, but it's a little easier to read. They need a smoke, and they are not in a fugue state, but clearly shocked with the happenings of this evening. They're a little less polished in terms of maintaining their composure.
I'm trying to think here, and I'm sorry. I'm not really good under pressure.
No, there's no pressure at all. You're very, very good at taking whatever time you need to offer some bit of insight. If there's ever a moment where you're not quite, you can always ask for an insight roll, which is which plus insight, and going off of a wild gut instinct. With Tyvin's specific abilities, coaxing conversation out of others should come easier. And because of Tyvin's contacts, allies, retainers in the business that he's in, reaching out via phone also gives them the opportunity to collect.
Okay, I think if that's the case, Tyvin's going to... He is going to 100% start mingling with the people around. You know, trying to get to know people, trying to hear the conversations in the room, that sort of thing. As well as, you know, if that's not hitting on anything, he's going to try to make a few phone calls himself.
Okay. Having adapted a more modern aesthetic in terms of always being near or on his cell phone, he slips it from his pocket and finds himself leaning against the door jamb near the kitchen, where the few staff that are present are talking about what took place. Oh my God, are you serious? Yeah, I know it seems weird, but I sent a text like 3 minutes before that stupid meeting, and then I got 5 responses back that I didn't respond. Much I'm on. Well, you're on your phone fucking right now. That's my point. There's no way I'm going to go 4 minutes and get that many texts, that many tweets, and that many snaps and not respond. Are you serious? Like, I tell you, I think that, like, they're pumping stuff into the air like they do in Las Vegas. But I think this stuff is, like, having an effect. You know, Nicole was always disappearing downstairs for, like, 8, 9, 6 hours a night. Girls, you need to stop. You're exaggerating. No, you know, the girls and the guys who work downstairs, they always come in carrying these big duffel bags. You know that's because they put on shows down there. I don't know anything. I just know Nicole. The last time I was at the bar, this stupid Elijah Wood looking guy was hitting on me. He wasn't hitting. Yeah, he was. He asked for a beer and didn't say what kind. And then when I gave him the good stuff, he took a bottle beer and gave me a huge tip. Girl, most people are happy with getting a tip. I know, but it's just weird. Haven't you noticed all the stuff? Like, why have we been closed for the last 2 days? And then Nicole is gone, started a new business, and left Dia in charge. I know Dia's nice, you know, cool and all, but do you really want a cool boss or a good boss? I really don't care as long as the money. I don't think Nicole can do whatever she needs to do. Girl, there's no point talking to you. You just... I may be stupid, but I'm not going to be the one that my job to myself. And they prattle along those lines back and forth for more than a few moments. You overhear one of the gentlemen who were cleaning bar, emptying the wells and doing that maintenance because, well, they're closed, and grunting and grumbling about all the fucking dog hair that clogged up the vacuum cleaner. Why didn't anybody empty the vacuum? We don't even allow dogs. And the hair was so long and thick, it took him a half an hour to get it out of there.
he's complaining about a bunch of fur in a place that does not allow pets.
Mm-hmm.
So, would I know that gangrel get hairy when they go all crazy, or would that be a more like alarm bells of like werewolves?
Would you be so kind as to roll a wits and a cult for me? Your turn.
I don't have a cold.
Okay.
What's in a cold?
Yes, wits and a cult, and if you don't have a cult, you can throw wits, and depending on your successes, we will see what information easily comes to Tyvin's mind with the disappearance of the former senator. And if you tap that little dot there and you forgot hunger, hunger should be the second number. So it would be your wits dots and however many hunger you are at right now, 1. And then you can leave the third 0 there if you'd like to re-roll. I would suggest re-roll.
Let's get this one. 2 0 6.
All right, now, no one's near to Tyvin, but if you want to be super stoic and well put together, you may want to roll a resolve plus composure, bro. Because immediately hearing of the disappearance of a kindred, the death of another, and this place, which is a halcyon beacon of Toreador power, there's nothing in this world outside of something physical that can surmount a Toreador. And you are literally flipping a coin in your head. It's either a gangrel or a werewolf, and neither one are bad. Both are bad. One's worse than the other. And you're here.
Let me get that resolve and composure for you. It seems like one of those situations where you kinda don't want to be here.
You are a duck. And what I mean by that is, most people don't realize that ducks are very violent. They're prone to violent actions and coarse behavior. However, they know that if you act as if you are as angry as you really are, you scare away your opportunities to inflict your pain on the world. They also know that they are not nearly as predatory as the other creatures around them. So on the surface, a duck is always calm, except for when it has no other recourse, even when it's fuming, even when it's near explosive. It is just a sudden strike out of nowhere, and that's what you are. You are calm. On the surface, you are the picture of calm, while internally, your unbeating heart is about to rabbit out of your chest. There are lupines and gangrel, or a combination of the two, or one or the other, who have managed to kill a kindred, who have managed to invade a kindred space. And clearly, someone has taken pains to make sure that the humans are unaware.
At this point, he's like, he takes his phone out and he will call Sapphire and he will wait for her.
She hops on the phone almost instantaneously. Like you, much like most people, she keeps her phone on her. She always has it on her. What's up, Pops?
Well, question. You heard any rumors about any, and I quote, Elijah Wood looking motherfucker who don't drink beer but order beer?
Beer?
And or, I'll explain when I get there. Just be on the lookout for a quote-unquote Elijah Wood motherfucker. Ask the girls if they've seen anybody fitting that description in any of the bars, or have they had any dates or, the girl talkies.
Yeah, I'll ask around, Pops, but you're not anywhere near secrets tonight, are you?
Am I close to secrets?
No, you just left secrets.
Oh, I just left there. I'm fine.
Oh my God, Pops, look, you need to stop hanging out in those places. There were 2 bodies, and the police are saying like several body parts found not far from there. It seems like it was they're saying domestic terrorists, some white guy in like SWAT gear killed a bunch of other people and other bikers, and it was just bad. Like, we're not supposed to know yet, but you know how Tammy dates the dispatcher down there?
Yeah.
They are calling in the feds if they can't find any more clues, because all they found is body parts and bullets. And like, get this shit, Dad. Look, don't tell Tammy that I told you, but I think she might be back on, because according to her, one of the arms started melting before they even got it back to the hospital, to the morgue, to be identified.
So, just tell Tammy she's on secretarial duty for me tomorrow, so I can keep an eye on her. And 100%, don't tell Tammy you told me.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm just trying to tell you, places like that. I don't know what's going on between like 3 weeks ago and tonight. It's getting bad out there. I don't know what changed, but it's definitely getting bad. I think it's all those Chicago people.
Yeah, those Chicago people, they bring ruckus wherever they go. But everything should be sorted shortly. Hopefully. We'll see.
I can't wait. Oh, your appointment with Mr. Calixte, that's for tomorrow. I just checked, and Mr. Calixte's payment hasn't come in yet.
Thank you for letting me know that. Thank you. I enjoy the phone call. Love you. Kisses. Mwah, mwah. Goodbye. And he will hang up the phone.
Ending the call.
I don't think he ever waits for her to say goodbye. I don't think he ever does.
Ending the call, Zach is now pacing at the front end of the, which is opposite of the way that you all managed to enter in. And credit where credit is due. There's nothing extraordinary about the bar. It is as plain Jane as you could possibly be. It is everything in your power to not accidentally insult the senator because of the duality that exists here. But up here is definitely not where you would like to cool your heels. So moving circuitously around the bar, you find the steps leading down. It's not very well hidden for someone such as yourself. For any kindred, it's easy. It's there. But it's clearly designed that most more never realize those are the stairways down into the actual space. And you've heard so much about the Pisketeers, from its parties that harken back to the 60s Playboy parties to its ability to provide fun, play, and pleasure for multiplicity tastes. You're expecting something gaudy, some fall polar bear rugs on the floor, some ill-chosen decor that is rife with stained living. And you are absolutely 100% incorrect. There are several suites when you exit downstairs from various tables aligned towards particular styles of play. The common room, main room, fitted with a stage that, quiet as kept, you can see easily a 4 or 5 piece band and lead singer performing. It is, while not as over the top, gaudily ostentatious as the Queen of Spades once was, the feel and ambiance of the place harkens back to your days on the party circuit in Madrid or in one of the speakeasies found while strolling through Spain. It is the height of the opposite of homey and bare almost country that Dolton is.
I think Tyvin's genuinely impressed. I think as he's walking around, it's quiet, I'm assuming this place is closed.
Yes. However, there is still a matron of the house. And the reason why that term or phrase actually exists because, like mothers, they are able to corral the problem children in a tasteful, quiet manner, but they are also caring and loving and take care of that you may have along the way. The matron of the house here is clearly someone who has been experienced in customer service because instead of immediately bum rushing someone who's appearing in her space, he saunters over with a drink list, closed or not. Clearly, you're a friend, Mrs. White. So, take your poison, and I'll make sure that I bring it. With your height, those back row there is probably the most comfortable while you wait for whatever's happening, Miss White. If you need anything, just ask for me. You can just whistle. You know how to do that, don't you?
I do. I will look down at this drink list. Is it a wide selection?
It is not a wide selection. It is a list designed for those who know good alcohol actually is and only accept things 2 to 3 levels above that. There are several Caldos, there are several Louis, it is a list pressed by even knowing those liquors are.
I think he folds up the list and he hands it back to her. He goes, I would like the third on the rocks.
Of course. Give me a quick moment. I'll be right back.
Thank you. And he will go. Go ahead.
No, you were heading.
Oh, I was gonna say he was just gonna go to where she pointed out where she said it would be most comfortable for him to sit, and if it's not comfortable, he's gonna be very disappointed.
Oh, he's very disappointed right off the bat because she very much underplayed. There are several places that actually consider the variation most people have. It is clear that this is one of those places that do. And while he is not the largest of individuals, he is definitely taller than the average seating space. So there's always eventually that ache in the knees that causes him to stand, or as most people do, is line of lounge, find a comfortable lean chairs that he's sitting in. This bench, because that's very much what it is a near couch, a divan actually, and it is perfectly apportioned for someone of his height. He doesn't have to lean or lounge or get up and stretch his legs. Settling in, it supports his frame as if it was designed to do just that. And it's everything he can do to hold the profanity that leads. I should have came here. And as Tyvin settles in to the divan, we pull away to as we drawn to the office because trusting though she is, loyal though she is to her career, there are certain calls, some contacts that she must make in a semblance of privacy. There is a very real gut punch of a feeling sitting with her. Rob and Frost left, the last to leave behind Zach and Seth. Yet Zach was the first person back to Dia. Seth, she knew we were taking care of business, and based on the main, she could hear the rumble cars passing, i.e. the sound of a phone call happening inside of the car, which means that he would not have been in the area. However, Rob was talking about his bike yesterday evening and the start of this evening, and Frost rode with Dia. They should have been back.
Dia's first call is going to be Geneva, obviously, because they would probably know the most about what's going on. So they sit in their office, fingers drumming impatiently, and wait for Geneva to hopefully pick up.
Dear Tyler.
Is there any news? Two of my cabinet.
Oh, please say that is not so. That is a very unfortunate situation.
No, it's very much so. Zach is with me. Seth had business and is safe, I know. Rob and Frost are missing. And they were also the original target of tonight's attack, more Rob than Frost. But Frost would never let Rob fight on their own.
I have not gotten the identity of the corpses the police have managed to collect. However, it was more corpses. There, a white male in SWAT attire bled out from a femoral injury into my sources all ground. There was a large red-headed individual, which I believe that caused the scene of the trial. There were also several body parts on trial. I am working diligently to find the state of all. As you know, that would be a if they are in fact kindred. So we need to arrange a way to ensure that both and all bits of information and details are obtained from police. With your calling in such a timely fashion, perhaps this is that our newest senator might be able to arrange.
There's a slightly choked sound as Geneva says, "Let out," and SWAT apparel and large redhead. That's them. That's Frost and Rob. Frost was the SWAT. Oh God. Rob is the redhead. Oh. Now what do I do? Because if he's dead, corpses. This is like freaking Milwaukee all over again.
Milwaukee? Is that where Mr. Osei and Mr. Yeager and Atlas ceased to be?
Yes, they found themselves in the morgue, and we had to rescue them from there, and then in the process of rescuing them, I was set upon by the Prince's hounds.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And we were punished, mostly them, not me. But it's very much smacking of that particular time. I don't think I can go breaking into another morgue, especially not now.
Well, you do have a small assistance. Dwayne has anyway throughout a portion of the staff at the morgue. This is how we are able to ensure certain malfeasance information can be hidden. I can have Dwayne make them available to you for the evening, as they are your poultry, the owners of the potential beach farm poultry.
Well, Rob, I don't know whether or not he'll turn to dust. I don't know how old he was. Frost was still somewhat human. It might be too late to bring him back. Seth is going to be unconsolable.
Oh yes, that was the goal in your cabinet. Was security officer,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
I see. A bit unruly, not quite as well trained as one should. Their goals, but his loyalty is to be commended. I will raise a toast to his loss.
Hopefully it's not a full loss yet. Dwayne
While we
said-
are independent, my dear, creating another in this climate be ill-suited to our needs, especially with the recent death of Jack, the potential banishment, if not exsanguination, of Naomi and the offing.
I had thought to make a child, but not in this method. This would be too slapdash. I wanted to pick the cherry pick of the group. But I can't let him stay dead. Perhaps there would be somebody who would take a boon instead. I don't know. But I would at least like to get the body back.
Very well. I will reach out to Dwayne and a small favor. And if you are able to convince one of associates, I will grant you a nation for a small price.
Well, you know I owe you much already. One more boon or favor should not break me too much.
Of course, I would never dream of breaking. Perhaps a small bit of bending tissue occasionally. Never break. You hurry on your way, and I will have Dwayne have his associates meet you there as quickly as possible. Large, of course. Despite what they say, your lovely vehicle really is not a two-wheel. And she ends the call.
Once they hang up, she stands and smooths the hair again back into place and goes to check on Zach and their other guest.
Alright, sounds like a plan. In the Zach is clearly out of sorts. They are needing a smoke in their pocket to place this evening and lay ahead for them. And it's clear that it wasn't the violence of the evening, but something else weighing on. Leaving them to their thoughts, it makes their way upstairs. There's nowhere else in the for Tyvin to be. And there's no surprise when the controls, the comfortable seating, and a glass being to him.
I I see you've quite made yourself at home, but that is perfectly fine. I offered you safety, so mi casa es tu casa.
Appreciate you extending your hospitality to me here during this commotion.
It is only through us roses sticking together that it grows a strong garden, so I will chalk it up to that. I think I remember you made me that lovely piece that time. I haven't seen you since then. Where have you been?
Just, trying to build a lovely garden of my own. Making sure that certain things, a place for everything and everything in its place. That's become my new motto.
Yes, organization is important. Very much so. And then Dia will kind of drop into a seat and lounge.
When she sits down, he will look through her and say, with the events of what happened tonight, how far do you believe it will be before this will be another attempt at this endeavor?
Well, if the news that I got upstairs is an indication, they have succeeded in their original task of taking out one of my cabinet members, and I think that was their original target, that and to cast aspersions on Naomi. So, sealing their coffin, basically.
I hope we can resolve this matter quickly, efficiently, quietly.
Actually, I'm curious. I have the Marshal Twain coming by in a few short moments to take me to perhaps retrieve somebody from the local morgue. And I was wondering if you would like to come along.
Be honored to come along and help you, assist you. We can make a date of it, people say.
Oh, charming indeed. But yes, we will head to the morgue, and hopefully Dwayne will be there so that I can get in and get what I need and get back out before the police notice anything. I'll let you finish your drink first.
And as Dia and Tyvin finish their drink, Frost is floating through the endless, never has been, once was realm of nothingness. There are many ideas as to what the afterlife is, many ideas as to what it be and what it inhabits. For this moment, what it inhabits is pain. There is the fire of Mordor spreading through his being, the clawing needs something. And with that understanding of need comes a how much.
So Frost right now is like in pain, but also is like just surrounded in nothingness.
Yeah.
Come on, this is all you got for an old geezer like me? I know I was bad, but I really been this bad? Jeez.
Were you? You kept contract and compact with a monster. A nice monster. But looking at the last few moments of his existence, looking at the last few weeks of his time, looking at what they managed to do, both in Milwaukee and here, knowing all of the many lives affected by their actions, how can you see it as anything about it? Not only do you deserve nothing, you deserve far more than nothing. As amoral and immoral as he sought to be, there's no way to live without having a grasp on knowing what's too far. He built his life on bringing people back to the core. And knowing that he built his life on bringing people to a semblance of justice, back to court for skipping on their bail. And even as unethical as he would like to be, besides the money and the fame that came, there's a sense that he was justified. That's right.
Come on. Only killed a few people. Never. Only when they not aggravate me.
And there's a moment as the thought of aggravation pops into his head. He's back to a rainy night south of Boston, racing down the alley. The target of the warrant having evaded the lookouts and escaped around the side of the building down this long staircase that into a pratfall for most people if you weren't careful. And unfortunately, this night Frost wasn't careful. The bounty wasn't large, it's only $5,000. But the guy ran, caused him to fall. There was a sound of the gun going off. He aimed for a leg, he aimed for an arm, tried to bring the target down. But being honest with himself, what's a gun made for? It is a tool. What is it made for?
Yeah, but besides that moment, what about the nights where I held my daughter to sleep, told her stories? Or the time where I just had all the bro moments?
There was a time, speaking of bro moments, there was a time just before he met Seth. He was in a bar in Tampa, having successfully brought down 4 escaped bounties. He knew he should have stopped about an hour before things hit the fan, but he's a tough guy. He knows his limit, he knows his tolerance, and the shots were being bought by the locals. They recognized him. Most of them were cops or volunteer community service agents and officers, and the shots flowed. And the drive home, he barely touched the car ahead of him. Little ding. Couldn't have been more than maybe a couple $100 in paint and Bondo. And then he remembered getting to his hotel and passing out as well in preparation of the weather so he can get to the plane and get home. Realized that it wasn't a scratch. He ran him off the road. It was a good clip. The yelling that he heard that he drove away from were them calling for help. But he was too inebriated. If he stopped, if he was caught there at the scene, he would have lost his license, maybe more.
So what? I hurt some people, but I helped a whole lot more.
He thinks of the track star from USF that he let go. One of the few times he did not bring the bounty in. One of the few times where he stated that the perp was clearly out of state, clearly gone. That wasn't the case. The guy's girlfriend was keeping him safe. That is until the bath salts took hold and he threw her from a third-story window.
Jesus Christ.
Thinking about that incident, him having done a good deed, kid had his life back to just how roughly brought him in. The personal expenses that he utilized in tracking the kid down and making sure he served as much time as possible, making sure that he was brought back each and every time bail was posted for him. He managed to have friends and associates get the kid's bail revoked, making him a flight risk and needing to be brought in. 6 different trips down, 6 different times where he engineered that kid getting back into jail and staying in jail until the kid beaten mentally from the dregs of the drug use, leaving his system, having been forced to get clean, to the fact that the kid having to come to grips with what he did in the middle of a completely blacked out drug-fueled bender. And you keep thinking about it now because the kid kept saying, but I did it, but it wasn't me.
It's hard. So, what? Just I'm in hell now. Just gonna mentally torture me and hurt me, saying I'm a bad man and I cause more harm than good. I mean, I do deserve this, but am I really dead?
Yeah, you're dead, says a voice, echoing through the white emptiness of the void. But heaven, hell, good, bad, it's all a matter of perspective. And so long as you don't embrace the truth of your moment, your perspective is always askew. And as the voice gets clearer and louder, your father materializes there. It's been years since Faust thought about it. But that man's voice sets his teeth. You see, if you look at the world sideways, it never makes any sense. You get to say it is whatever you want it to be. And Barty, I taught you better than that. It is what it is. You have the separate black with the white.
Okay, so
yeah, for Frost, he envisions him as that chaotic spirit of violence, that destroyer of things because he could, that breaker of things. That's how Frost felt growing up. He knew what the outcome of any action might be. Doing good meant nothing to his father, because you could always have done better. Doing bad mattered because you were stupid enough.
well, doing good doesn't really matter to Frost either.
Exactly the point.
Him being loyal to his allies and his friends and family.
Much
That's the reason he accepts the nightlife easily, not because he's loyal to Seth and he's a follower of sorts.
So you accept that you're not as good, that you're just as much of a monster as the brought in.
I might even be more of a monster sometimes. I even thought about shooting my own friend because he was making a fuss. But I
But you
didn't
said
act
loyalty
on it.
mattered.
It
But you
does.
said loyalty mattered. So how can it if
Yeah,
you can think
I thought
of
about it.
assassinating?
I
If you can
didn't
think
do
of
it, though.
assassinating, in your mind you did.
But I didn't do it just because I thought about it. And sometimes
Thinking it and not acting on it makes you full of shit. Thinking it makes you a bad person. Why don't you just accept it? This veneer of civility, this idea of loyalty. If you're really loyal, then what they want matters. Their drives matter. Their feelings matter. Let's be honest, Barty. Do they really matter to you?
yes.
Still gonna lie to yourself. You can't lie to yourself. You can't lie to me. You never could. Even when you came home and said you were just defending the kid. Come on. You weren't defending the kid. You were enjoying putting your fist into something. Same way I put my fist into you. Why don't you own it? Why don't you actually be the monster?
Want to be a monster so bad, then fuck it. Then he grabs his. He just like even if he grabs where his gun usually is and just shoots.
The sound of the gunfire is deafening. Everything fades and shimmers as if you are suffering from a heat stroke. And that heat in the center of your being grows several degrees exponentially. And stepping out of the vehicle, having made your way inside and sitting down, Seth, it is once again to beat the dead horse repeatedly. These are the powerhouses. These are people that if you collected 4 lot cards would be on each of them. These are the people that if what you all could do was known to the public at large would be on the sports should be having be at the Grammys, at the Met, these are the people in this region that have made names for themselves and for the Tremere as a whole. Even without the official endorsement of the Camarilla, the Tremere remain as part of the tower because they are feared, respected, in equal measure. And these are the people in this area that made that possible.
Seth is definitely on his P's and Q's. He is watching everything he remembers from etiquette class in those first few years with Oren, making sure he doesn't make any missteps or step on any landmines.
Oh, and there are a plethora. There are exchanges of greetings, usually a head nod. Very few members of the Chantry engage in actual touch. There's so much you can do with touch. There's so much you can do with hair, and blood, and viscera. But even or you can wreak subtly a simple touch. And so most of the Chantry greet each other with a head nod or incline. There are very few who greet each other the way that James and Oren did. Except for Usable. Walks in and he touches one person on their shoulder, touches another on their forearm. He shakes hands, his cane moving a pace of him.
I see all of Dusab's touching and open physical contact is just another show of power. Like, he knows these guys won't dare mess with him regardless of what they have.
And as everyone settles in, finally to finding their seats, taking pleasure and greeting each other, being in the company of each other. It's not often this many powerful warlocks are in the same place at the same time. And then Erishto enters, and she pauses and stops to test you. Whatever their exchange, it is clear that there is some consideration of each other that most of the other warlocks do not have.
That's Hestia and who?
Erishto.
Oh. Geek. Okay. The only other person I'm keeping an eye on besides Dusalb and all of the doorways around us is I'm looking for and watching how Tessa interacts.
Tessa is considerably more angry than any of the others. And it's sad because she doesn't need to be the living embodiment of several unkind stereotypes, but she has no time for any of the men. She has no time for the niceties. She has her arms crossed, her ankles crossed, and she is simply waiting for this to be over. It's clear that whatever she was pulled away from, she would really much not have that be the case.
I definitely do not broach any subjects with her right now. Hopefully her mood might lighten later. You gotta pick your moment.
And as Hestia, you see James, Rich, and Oren, who you have not seen in several decades since just after, well, Karen's death. They're one of the few who offered their condolences, not in grand gesture, but instead snuck north to the hidden place that Karen said only friends were aware of. And they're sitting with another warlock. You're not quite sure who actually is. He's clear enough to James that he counts as similarly minded, at least superficially. Erishto shared the fact that as far as she is aware, what you told her of Woodstone, she has tracked places just east. She's working on it. She thought you'd like to have that news ahead of this summons. And as you and Melissa settle in, is there anything else you'd like to discuss before Dusaba begins his moment? The reason for calling everyone here.
No, as everybody settles down, I'm going to fade a little bit back so I have a clearer view of the surrounding room. Still maintaining, I'm not hiding myself from Dusab in any way. I want him to be aware of my presence. Don't want him to think that I'm like hiding behind something, but I want to be aware of all the doorways and everything. Even with Hestia here, a bunch of warlocks would be easy pickings for somebody with a frontal assault mentality.
All 5'0" of Hestia, listening to Erecto, nods and then turns their head towards the group and very quickly and quietly makes their way towards James and Oren and gives them a polite, soft smile. It's been some time since I've seen either of you.
Oh my goodness, I did not believe that you would be here, Oren says, standing up and immediately extending his hand for a shake.
She's a little cautious since all of what she's learned, but she still gives him a handshake and smiles when she does so and kind of relaxes into it because she's learned caution recently, but still they were friends and they were nice to her, so she would never quite distrust him. So yeah, so she gives her hand and shakes it and gives him a squeeze.
Before the Regent takes whatever steps he's going to take, come, I have something to show you. Seth!
Yes, sir.
This is Hestia Green. She is the child of Karen LaSalle that I told you of. This is her child, her star pupil. Anyway, this is the one person that we potentially could discuss this with because of Karen's study into ley lines, and you know how the stones affect. This is one person we'll be reaching out to shortly. Either way, I wanted you all to be aware of each other because Seth is currently in the area. He is working with James in regards to, whatever it is that James is working towards in this particular moment. But I know we must speak quickly because Dusab ever impromptu and is typically fairly long-winded, but we'll get through it all together and we'll speak afterwards. Take a few moments and then meet me back at our seats. And he heads back and sits down.
Dia looks up at Seth and up because, like I said, they are only 5 foot nothing. Currently, like curly, fluffy hair, and look very much like an extra from the craft because it's funny to them. Kind of raises their brow. You got that whole detective thing going on. I know somebody like that.
Yeah, it's a leftover from my previous life, and if you're good at it, get paid for it, I guess. I only know of you by, on Hestia, I only know of you by reputation, so it is a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too, but I wouldn't put too much stock in reputation right now. My reputation is a little bit of craziness. The things they say that I do.
Well, the things they say that I should be doing, it's probably an equal amount. Oren, more than once, has cried himself to sleep over my complete lack of study.
Oh. Studying, it just kind of became natural to me, being a botanist and all, but yeah. We should probably sit soon, but I will definitely catch up with you after all of this so that we can talk, because it seems you got something going on that I might know a bit about, apparently. ley lines and such?
Yeah, with Oren has been working with games because Oren likes to hand me out to other Tremere whenever he can. But I don't know whether you've heard news from Dolton, but as a hound, you might want to know there seems to have been an attack on the trial of Senator Naomi.
Wait, what? Naomi's on trial? I didn't even know that.
Well, I guess the news hasn't spread up here. It was the trial basically commenced right after the ascension of
Wow.
Concordia White.
Concordia, I've heard of her.
She's the childer of Nicole.
Nicole. Oh no. Oh, I heard about that. Oh.
So there was an ascension and a murder, and Naomi's implicated. So there was a trial, and it seems that some friends of mine have been involved in a firefight, and I haven't been able to get any information. It happened while we were driving here.
You get in almost as much trouble as I do.
Hanging around all those senators.
Yeah, Toreadors tend to be trouble. But yeah, okay, no problem. I will mark your face, and I will be back. I should probably go sit in the stool, because that's what the proper thing would be to do. But definitely we'll catch up after, okay?
I'll be in the back watching the doors.
The moment you all separate, the moment that Hestia steps away and Seth takes his half a step back, Dusavo was at the lectern. Ladies and gentlemen of the Tremere, members in good standing of the great chantry of the Midwest, I want to thank you all for such a prompt and immediate response to my summons. You all are far too kind. I have news, most pressing of variety, but if you'll give me a moment to bask in the sheer weight of potentialities that we can wield. We have all the way from walking Tessa Green, regent of our Milwaukee Chantry. We have all the way from Walkerton, Indiana. Zero, the only one of us here not by blood. We have the representatives of the Gary Chantry, as Regent Rose was unable to make it. We have Mr. Dubion, master of transmogrifying his visage. His ability is so thorough that, unbeknownst to the vast majority of the privileging of the city, for over 6 months, while Prince Jackson had been away negotiating with Emperor Vattel, DC, masqueraded as the prince and none wiser. We have Regent Rich of our Thornton Township area, the south suburbs, the region of the south as many. We have our leader of the hounds, Hestia Green. We have Erchto, the singular most masterful remnant of the former blocks here. Right hand of Nikolai himself for his untimely end. And we have me. The new Lord Regent Grand Chantry Midwest. And Primogen, the entirety of the Tremere, bound to the main Chicagoland area. There's several looks back because the Tremere in no city seats a power table. The danger that poses on most cities is too close. And while that moment settles in, I would like to announce that we are reorganizing the chantries of the area. No longer will there be more than one step between either of yourselves and me. I am ascending each those mentioned to the second mystery and granting each and every one rank, the equivalent rank, regent for those who have not founded their own chantries. And because of our sparseness and to engender our strength, if you all notice there on that board, and he points, and unfortunately, as the saying goes, just magic, a scroll work of the gathered regents begins to appear. And underneath them, forming into this separate 7 mysteries, are those assigned to them, those students of theirs, their members of their individual cell chantry and the equivalent. For the image that appears, you all, if you look there in the player discussion, I've posted it, you guys can see. No longer will we operate individually. We are one chantry as a whole, with each of you heading your own cell, your own chantry. Each of you being of the second mystery, the second circle, will be tasked with training those beneath you. Level for them to ascend. We are training our replacements so that each of us will take the step further into the mysteries that abound around us. And I understand that this is a lot and it's coming all at once, but there is yet more you must understand. We are embattled. The reason for my accepting the Primogen seat and pursuing it is because Golgotha is no longer. The imprisoned spirits there are wreaking havoc through the Southlands and the Westlands. They have not quite made it to Thornton Township, but they are close. This much we know because Sylvia, our head interlocutor of the spiritual, had several cells pursuing, several cells tracking their movements, several cells working towards their capture and re-imprisonment. Unfortunately, Sylvia is no longer amongst us. She is deceased. She was taken from us. She was killed by a cult of the Bahari. We are officially at war. Questions?
Seth watches James's reaction to the group elevation and the redistribution of how the charities would work. He also watches Orin, but knows that Orin will very shortly probably be off on some other tangent, hunting down some random pebble or chip of a cross. Orin
stands up. If I may, oh boy, just a bit curious. You asked me here, you summoned me, my ties and associations with those in this area, but I see there you've placed me beneath my nearest and dearest friend and associate. Is there a particular reason for this? I'm glad that you asked, Majesty. Yes, you can't stay put, and your recent destruction of the Chantry will not mention, as in that city placed a blood hunt on you, and so to protect you and your ties to my region, your ties to the area, you are officially protected by the life of your nearest and dearest. And your knowledge, of course, will be helpful and useful in educating those around us. But if you carry forth a banner of our device, it acts as a shield to you and prevents James, who has already lost so very much, from losing more. Any other questions? Any other questions that I can take care of? Because we unfortunately have very little time. There's much to be done. Warren was on his way to stand back. But if you know that I won't, why would you give me such protections? That makes no sense. There's no value in it. Majesty. Because there's no value in it is the reason that I did it. We need to change the way that we operate with ourselves and with the world at large. You mean nothing to me. You, individually, nothing gain. There's no gain for me. However, as Regent Rich is valuable to the area, you have value to him. And while just as little as 2 weeks ago, I would have followed through on the request to blood hunt you and ensure that you no longer exist to cause problems to others and yourself, we can't keep doing what we were doing and receive anything more than, he points to Tessa, losing a friend to the call of the demonic, losing, and he points to Hestia, losing a sire and sealing our skills away, and he points to James, losing a childer and willing to damn the entirety of the world, and he points to Dubiard, losing ourselves to the allure of power. We must be better. And the only way for that to happen is to change what was. Any other damn questions, or can we get on with enjoying this moment? The silence.
Maintaining his peace and his watchful eye.
The silence is deafening. The chastening being far more effective than most would assume, especially masters of their own art and masters of their own way forward. As the silence stretches to the point where it becomes unsettling, Gustavo moves from behind the lectern. Thank you all for coming. I have provided donors in the observatory if you should like to make use of them. But now I have to go and instruct a prince in how best to deal with the problem of the Wan Kwai in Chinatown. And he leaves.
Hestia keeps their face very schooled the whole time, especially when he's asking if there are any questions. She definitely has them, but she knew better than to ask them right now. And especially once he mentions the Wan Kwai, she kind of fidgets a bit in her chair, but doesn't say anything.
Once Dissolve steps from the lectern and heads to Sunshi, I return to Jade Orin's side. Well, Regent Rich, Sire Archer, seems we've dodged a couple of bullets tonight.
Really? Can you believe that? I've never seen him so singed. I do believe my question was valid, don't you? Hestia, and he leans forward in his seat. Hestia.
Yeah.
Do you believe my questions were invalid? They're very much valid to who we are as a species.
You must forgive him, since he was made primogen. Things have been very stressful for him, and even before that, things were getting a little weird and crazy in Chicago. I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything or not, but...
Excellent. That means that you will. I know a lovely place, not too far, actually. Being as he did offer us refreshments, we don't have to partake here. We can partake them of elsewhere where we have the opportunity to speak. Come, James, we have to go. You did try it, didn't you? Yes, of course. Seth.
Yes, sir.
Would you be so kind as to escort Hestia out to our... I believe, Regent Cross, are you coming along? I believe that yes, yes, of course.
It feels like she somehow got bamboozled just a little bit, but she'll go along.
Seth resists the impulse to facepalm as Orin has once again managed to take complete control of the situation for no apparent reason other than his own amusement.
The idea of 5 warlocks sitting at a diner, and no, not an approximation of a diner, but an actual diner. He instructs Regent Rich's driver to take you all north to Lincoln and Wrightwood to the Salt and Pepper, and you all sit at one of the 35 actual diners from Prohibition that are still in operation throughout Chicago. And as you all settle in at the checkered table, pulling up an additional seat because, well, the booths are only made for 4. Orin is all but bursting with the information he'd like to share, but it is clear that he's pushing Seth forward to make a good impression on the regent level, and the actual former regent of El Paso. And as they settle in, ordering some food simply to have the scent at the table, we turn our gaze to Tyvin. Now, when the offer was made by Dia to help her retrieve something, these things fall well within your purview. You have smuggled things to and fro across the country for years. What was not expected was the fact that you all had to change your ensemble and dress in despicably plain and utilitarian coveralls. You are dressed like plebeians.
I do think he is not upset, more than annoyed that he has to do this, though questions. So we're at a morgue, correct?
Yep. The worst thing is that because of the small size of the village, the morgue is actually a hospital. The hospital or is the regional for Thornton Township and the outlying nearby areas. It unfortunately is a Catholic hospital, but it is firmly outside of anyone's domain. It is the wild outlands. Harvey has never been a safe place. It's always been a safe place, but there's a certain disdain that is pathological. Because Harvey, for several decades, supplemented their governmental shortfalls and shortcomings by ticketing, taxing, and even endorsing strip clubs. Back during the Puritan days of the late 80s, it is still of a similar mindset. There are more per capita accountants in the Harvey area than any other outlying suburb. There are more official, amateur, and underground strip clubs in Harvey than in any other outlying suburb. The police in Harvey accept payment of tickets at the moment of issuance. The bars in Harvey do more business after their official close than during the entirety hours of.
Okay, so Tyvin, knowing this, would it be feasible? Would I would know where the morgue is soon, correct?
Yes. It's one thing that you Tyvin would easily mention in public consumption, especially with the Lincoln community. Oftentimes, the jewels that he works with, they don't necessarily have the strictest of clean provenance, and sometimes they are small in the bodies of recently deceased members who existed in the area and are taken to England.
You know, things happen. Yeah, someone tripped, spilled a bag of diamonds in a body. That's not my concern. I just got the diamonds. So I believe he, trying to be oh, this hurts his soul. Trying to be inconspicuous as possible will make his way down towards the morgue if possible.
It's not a large. And it's not a large hospital as far as things. It's larger than most of the line suburbs, and it is a level 5 trauma center. But Ingalls is definitely not that large of a hospital in regards to sheer manpower. And so as you and Dia make your way to the sub-basement, it is with no small shock that they find 8 or 9 sheriffs and police officers milling about, blowing into their all too hot bean water. Because at this point, there's no real caffeine in any of whatever that they are drinking. The scent of it annoys the nose because it is clearly lacking in everything that makes it worth drinking. Yet they are treating it as if it is wine gourmet. Their Brute and Old Spice and Axe mingling together to form a miasma of, fuck, why did I get out of bed tonight?
I literally smelled what you. I could literally smell what you were saying. So there's 8 or 9 of them in here, right? And I'm assuming on the access to the morgue.
Yes. Typically, there's not any actual access, and normally that's not a problem because there's usually never any law enforcement officers nearby. And without beating the dead horse of expectation, when they look at you and Dia, they immediately shrug their shoulders like, I don't know what you guys are supposed to clean in the night, but you guys may want to come back at another time. There's a lot of shit going on. We won't make too big of a mess. We just gotta, the ME is in there. So you guys want to come back in an hour or two, and they normally don't take that long.
Well, I just gotta. The boss. I walk closer to it. I'm towards him, and I look at him. I look, man. Boss has been riding my ass, man. Day shift, they doing their job. We're picking up their slack. Just let me get these trash bags from up out of here, and we'll get up out your hair, man.
Hey, they got a job to do. Let them go ahead and do it. I don't know. You saw the freaky shit that the ME was talking about. Go ahead and roll your charisma and persuasion.
Okay. Charisma and persuasion.
Yeah, it may be freaky, but they still got a job to do. They're not going to even bother anybody. I'd like to see them keep their lunch. Oh, that's so fucked up. Are you serious? Yeah, I got 15. They puke within the first 40 seconds. 40 seconds? You're giving them that much? I got 50. Says 10 seconds. Nah. They look tough. Let's say under a minute, I pay you. Over a minute, you pay me. Yeah, that's a good idea. What the fuck are you guys doing? Are you seriously trying to get them inside?
Do I add my presence to this or no?
If you'd like to.
That feels like something that can lead down a sketchy road. Can I add my looks merit? I am beautiful.
Yes. What are you guys doing? You're betting on... You know what? Fine, fuck it. Come on. Both of you guys. What's your fucking name?
People just call me T-Man.
All right, T-Man. And you. Hey, Missy.
Rebecca.
All right, Rebecca. You guys got a job to do. You got to get up the bags. These knuckleheads want to see if you'll puke. So I'm going to lead you back there. You guys grab the garbage, but you stay the fuck out of the way, okay?
Of course, man. Not trying to get in nobody's business. Just trying to do my job.
All right. Sounds like a plan. And just like that, you guys have managed to sweet talk your way into the morgue. The problem is, here's the problem I realize. Kindred Vitae is absolutely delicious. It doesn't smell that way. It's just like that stew you kind of don't really want at the moment you taste it. All you to do is eat it, especially the next day when all the flavors meld. And the moment you all step through the door and you look on the table that the ME is working on, all masked and PPE'd up with the goggles in place and the face shield over. For Dia, it's the fact that it's Rob. His chest is open, the Y incision made, being held open with the forceps, and the ME is in there down to their elbow. Both of you all are at home. However, the sense, and for Dia, the shock of watching and realizing that Rob had only lived his lifetime, because the desiccating about the body would say that the body had aged easily 5-10 years. But the fact that you realize that he is completely gone has its own weight. So, that being the case, your resolve and composure roll Dia, it's a difficulty of 4. For Tyvin, it is a difficulty of 3. But you guys go ahead and give me that roll.
Oh, cool.
There is a brief flickering moment.
How do you use a willpower? I wish to use one.
Okay.
I'm just gonna roll another dice. I don't know how to roll willpower.
The little dot underneath, the emote dot to the left. Just click that. Okay. So, Tyvin didn't know long. Didn't know he actually existed in truth. He was just some biker that swung through town years ago when Tyvin was setting up. Seeing him dead, triggers that memory of the Wolfpack picking up a cross medallion for the newest batch of potential inductees. Rob was one of them, rode with the Archon. You realize that big brute that started the fight there at the trial was him? For fuck's sake. And then it settles in. Kindred bodies naturally age to their natural point of death upon true death. Rob clearly had not stopped living a lifetime because his body has only aged 10 and is still an actual body, not dust or any of the other immediate desiccations that happen. And the enemy elbows deep inside, and then you look at Dia. The look on her face is vast. There is a welling up of vitae-enriched tears dancing in her eyes, and they are doing everything they can to not react. You have one action to stop or help or hinder, because blood tears stand out and lack of control stands out.
If I notice this, I will like push her hat down, but like in that consoling, like, oh shit, don't look, type thing. And like try to like wipe her tears like on my undershirt so I can button up my shirt more so the blood won't show. Does that make sense?
Okay, that being the case, would you be so kind as to go ahead and refuge and deal with the additional effort of a fellow sensei? Would you be so kind as to roll power? 2 successes means that you are able to hold it together enough to not move to the enemy and tear them limb, because they are desecrating the person who was willing to put their body on the line for having just met you.
So what do I need to roll?
You need to roll your charisma and subterfuge.
Where's my subterfuge? Good thing I'm charismatic.
Okay, so I'm spent roll power +2.
Yes. The cop starts laughing, and it's like nails on the chalkboard. As far as he's concerned, you're about to pop. The growl of annoyance, the simmering rage that is threatening to break through Dia's wall of calm is a palpable thing. Tyvin moves just quickly into him. Who is laughing doesn't notice that the tears of rage beginning to stream down her are tinged with kindred vitae, that they are tinged red. They are stomata-like. In the doing, Dia is able to catch sight of Frost on a table just there behind the ME towards the left corner. Clearly next on the list to be examined. His body, bullet holes and the clothing cut away there for the world to observe. There's another tear in her heart because Seth did nothing but speak highly. Frost did nothing but put their body, their all too human body on the line, willing to stand in front. That's all. Frost, in that in between nothing kindness to your 1/3 of, so that's 2 plus your willpower for me.
2 times my willpower?
2 plus your willpower, yes.
Oh, 2 plus your willpower. Yeah. Why'd you sound disappointed when you said, oh, 2? He's a
You fire into your clip and empty. You know that pain that happens if you stub your toe without being reason for it? Like you pass that table and the chair several thousand times. This one time you stub your toe so thoroughly that the nail begins to crack and bleed. Imagine that pain coming from the center of your. What would be your response?
fuck that would loudly saying that?
No. Imagine if you had the ability to shift into imagine you could lift up a motorcycle one-handed. What would be your response?
Oh, I would probably throw the table out the window then. Or like out the wall if there's no window.
Tyvin, Dia, you all have pulled off the most accordant con possible. In this few moments, you've managed to keep your inner beast from tearing a hole into the world. Tyvin, you've managed to keep the humans from realizing that, yeah, you guys aren't not only not supposed to be here, but you're not supposed to be in existing. Monsters don't exist. There's a scientific fact that monsters and Bigfoot and Cthulhu, they don't exist. But they do. And you guys are here. And you're masquerading, you're hiding right beneath their nose. And then there is a tiger suddenly loosed in the...
Oh, what? Okay.
The table where Dia, you saw Frost laying is suddenly being bent from his grip, and he sits up screaming. The scream escaping him is all the worse because there isn't any air in his lungs. It is a grinding, hollow sound. It is the sound that you imagine a zombie would make if it had been starved and kept inches from its food, and its food is just there. bloodshot, Vitae-soaked tears streaking down his cheek. The bullet wound and slashes to his flesh look all the garish because he died in battle, he died fighting, so the bruises didn't have time to appear. Yet now, in the transport from the scene to here, the prepping of the body, as his body died completely, all functions ceased. A full exsanguination, the mottled flesh took on life of its own as the lifeless leaving, as he dealt with whatever it is you deal with when dying. And standing, working towards standing, is the most animalistic version of Frost you ever to never see, Dia. And the officer, much like you and Tyvin, is shocked and surprised. It me looks depressed, like, oh fuck you hell. What do you guys do? Frost, you need blood. So anything moving, you need to attack it. Do not attack. Matter of things that we'll deal with later. You need to eat. You need the steak that is that person dressed in all in those scrubs. It's wrong. Know it, but you've seen Seth do it. He can't be that bad. He's not a bad guy, is he?
But is he tasty? Yeah. How close is this guy? Like,
Tyvin, Dia, you have a newly awakened, newly aroused Kindred. What do you do in front of police?
First thing I do is look the cop dead in the eye and
No, you have dominate.
I will try to entrance the police officer to like, hey man, whatever you do, don't scream. Matter of fact, turn around in a corner and don't look at what we're about to do.
All right. Well, let's see. Wow. Dia, what are you doing?
Can Dia assume that some noise was made?
Oh, yeah.
The cops on the outside are going to come probably rushing in a minute.
Yes.
Dia's going to go for the door like she's trying to get away, like, oh my god, a zombie run, and throw up awe, so that they'll probably want to follow behind and stay near her and get out of the way.
Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Dia, I need you to roll manipulation plus presence. And Tyvin, I need you to roll charisma plus presence. And surprisingly, Frost, Mr. Ibarti Akar, son of Yoko Akar, you, with your successes at saving your humanity, which is what it was for, managed to keep from tearing everything limb from limb. You have the opportunity to attempt one non-feeding action. That pressing matter of needing to do so is very much there, but your successes give you to do one non-feeding action.
Do I add my look merits to this? Yes or no?
Yes.
hey. Do I have my wooden bullets?
No. But on the items obtained from the fight, there were the stakes that the motorcycle club were going to use on Rob.
Yeah, they would have stripped him completely. He wouldn't have anything. It'd be all on the table.
Then I'll try to, if Frost does still have his humanity, then I'll try to stab myself with the thing before I, do something I'll apparently regret.
Oh, wow. Okay. That being the case, would you be so kind as to roll your strength plus melee? As long as you don't fail, you are successful. Or self-inflicting this and choosing a lesser course.
Melee and strength?
Yes.
Okay. Watch me fail this roll even though it's like impossible.
Fate may very well have different things in mind for Frog. Perhaps this is the...
I'm guessing I have 5 hunger.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, so very close.
That was actually... that was almost a bestial failure. That was fun.
Yeah, you would have shoved it all the way through instead of just stuck.
Oh my god.
Alright. So, as Dia takes off, catching everyone's gaze, it is with no small effort or strength that Tyvin manages to shrug off that potent oral might. Not a slouch himself, somehow he's able to to keep them in a fugue state, unaware of anything except for his mouth moving. Transmit doesn't cause bears, but it stops him from doing anything else. And as Tyvin is talking to him, he is transfixed. He is staring slack-jawed. If it could be summed up in the moment, it would be the moment from Harlem Nights where the officer called his wife and said, "Hello, baby, I'm not coming home. No, bye."
Yeah, that's what I pictured.
It is very much that malleable moment where his mind, his attention, everything that is wrapped up in Tyvin speaking to him. And Dia, having managed to catch every gaze, every glare, the officers following behind the dropped cups. What's going on? Where should we? And acting for all intents and purposes like himbos, guns, including the female officers. It is a moment of chaos. And over Dia's shoulder, as the door swings and the officer is standing there, transfixed, shoulders falling forward, looking to all the world like an absent-minded ape entranced by the ringmaster, she catches sight of Frost's fangs bared, riding him like a horse put away, wet, driving home a stake into himself. The second time he is aware, body on.
Wait, a body armor?
The second time Frost is put that he is aware that Frost is put his body on the line for others.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, wait a second, am I stripped bare?
Yeah, you're seeking to get them to take flight. Where you're attempting to have them take flight to?
There is a very secondary or temporary moment of thank goodness when they watch Frost stake themselves, because then that gives them time. As far as where she's leading them, I guess probably just out the first like an area, like kind of exit situation.
Sorry for that. No job calling her.
I dance to it. I'm fine. I'm seriously, I'm okay being in her life.
So yeah, like could she feasibly run out into the parking lot, or would it just be better, I think, to get them somewhere like in a different part of the building so they can't see the morgue? Just kind of like holding her face and like pretending to be hysterical, and it's like, it's worse than I ever expected. Oh my god.
Having heard the growl of the undead tiger and leaving Tyvin in the with a officer and an ME, the others they will eventually head back because they're clearly like humans don't make that sound. 1, 2, if they do make that sound, there's close to that sound, there's clearly something amiss. And while they're seeking to catch Dia to make sure that they are okay, effects can diminish, and some of them will go back because they are trained to run toward danger, not away from it. Once that moment dawns, what's the plan?
That is a good question. I don't know. Hold on, give me a second to think it.
Okay. While in the morgue, you have the officer in trance, and the ME is finally dawning that shouldn't happen. And to make matters worse, when Frost stabs himself, there is blood. Even the person who bleeds out arterially, there is blood if you pierce the heart. And that isn't normal. Zombies, maybe that might happen, but this is clearly something beyond the pale. Knowing that those similar thoughts are happening behind him with the ME, what is it that Tyvin is doing? As long as he speaks, as long as he's holding the officer's attention, the officer won't do anything else.
I will look to the officer and say, holy shit, the MC is on one of that weird zombie medical kicks. Grab him, and I will reach for the medical examiner like, he created a zombie, get him.
Well, no. Okay. Charisma. Subterfuge. Charisma and subterfuge. Looks one. Your target number is 3 or higher. You automatically have the officer in trance, so they're not quite in their right mind, which is not as insane for the person who seems potentially applicable. Let's see what fate decides for Tyvin. Can be.
Okay, so charisma, subterfuge, no presence, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Okay. Oh no. Why does subterfuge have to be so bad? Why do you have to be such a person?
Well, you know, honesty has its uses.
4 successes.
Somehow being battle-minded, entranced, and enraptured, despite the inability to, the officer moves flailingly for Tyvin's suggestion, not because he's attempting to actually subdue the ME, but it's that absent-minded, your mind is watching something, doing something else, and you're not really paying attention either. The officer is actually paying attention to the fact that Tyvin's mouth is still, and that's yeah, stop, yeah. Unfortunately, the officer's big body causes enemy to attempt to defend themselves. The fight that ensued, half of the enemy is taking self-defense classes, and the entrenched officer is flailing like a child on a playground. And while that's happening, and while Dia's leading the pack to turn back to find out what all that noise and ruckus was, and while Tyvin is watching the most hilariously offensive bad altercation, there on the floor is a staked kindred, proof the kindred exists, and on the table a deceased kindred who has not desiccated into dust. Holding those thoughts foremost in your minds, we take a step away to the diner. Its checker table pattern, its leather seats, it's very much antiquated, though updated and constantly cleaned. Look, it's a throwback to a time that has long been gone. The original architecture, the original fixtures, it is a place that time forgot but care did not. So, Oren, once you all settle in, alright, so you all are aware that in my adventures across the country, there are several things that come to my attention, and not just across the country. And unfortunately, Dusapa was right. There was a chantry that had to be fall, but only what Dusapa was unaware of, what you all are unaware of, is that I am not the only one looking for these lodestones or these pieces of the law. These pieces of our original city. Inakian architecture was literally gateways into the many worlds beyond our own. Even before being destroyed and shunted into the shadow, it was a place of power. And if you are able to bring back portions, if not the entirety of Inakian architecture, the fabric, the materials that were used to build the city, you are able to physically realized magic with a K. Seth, I know that you don't like being put on the spot, but would you please enlighten them to what a small kernel of a lodestone might do?
Seth's sitting at the chair at the end of the table because he's the fifth man out. And the only one not dressed to the nines, because I'd like to remind everybody of the visual we're dealing with. It isn't just the diner. We have Oren, who's an anachronistic nightmare, Seth, who looks like he came out of a Bogart movie, Rich in his Armani suit, and the two other regents dressed up for Dusab. We are a Tarantino movie. So Oren, catching him unawares with his question and demand, he suddenly wakes up and forgets who he's with and grabs the coffee that's in front of him and takes a sip to clear his throat, and it says, well, the fragment that my sire has it is directly tied to where it was. Just viewing it took me there. Its ability, once outside of any kind of containment, is world altering. And the ascribed powers that he forced me to read over and over again would have it be that we could, with a lodestone, undo almost anything. Maybe even the ties that bind us.
You are no orator, are you, my dear? Yes, all of that, yes, or simply direct. Yes, that is accurate. If we were able to get a large enough piece of the Lodestone and utilize it in many, for instance, your, Mr. James, very specific niche studies, the control you might utilize over. Hestia, are you, Hestia? I know you're busy mentally, but are you following along with Carrot's footsteps? Are you branching into the path of transmission through ley lines?
I actually am. I've had several interactions with the dragon lines.
Oh, very Asian of you. Oh, have you been reaching out to the Wan Kwai as well?
No, I try to avoid them at all costs. They are not to be messed with. Despite
No, they should not be trucked with lightly.
Yeah, exactly. So there is the fact that my very own haven, actually, the shelter that I run, sits on its own ley line. It is a fairly large nexus. There's another under the Succubus Club. I've been through that one as well.
Wait. Do you mean that they really are the pathway between the worlds and like little garden paths? Seth, remember the? Do you remember the speak and the history, the lore behind the children of Tuatha, the Kiasid, the kindred, who were able to branch the two different ends of immortality? These pathways, the ley lines, the dragon roads, they allow you, if with the right step and understanding and maps and piercing of the veil, you are able to travel from one location to the next. Much like James's idea of control, vast distances.
There's mention of that in our lore, but also in Kind lore with the fairies and such. They had pathways and such that could traverse great distances. They even had objects that could do it.
Yes, and the Lodestone magnify James's rituals and his understanding of control from a distance. With Hestia and her sire's grasp of the dragon ropes.
Hestia is currently trying not too much to look like the cat that got the cream. Like they know something and they're just like fiddling with their french fries on the plate, listening, but they've had an experience with this already. They've been through the ley lines and the lodestone thing, so they know more than they're letting on at this moment.
Actually, I know that it seems like the matters of myth, and that you don't, much like your side, you don't believe that such things are viable as finite resources, but it is not a finite resource. It is potentiality to take what we are and magnify it to the point where any means I know at the table conspiratorially. There is no doubt that we will become very much like gods. Anyone who is able to control or have an idea as to how to potentially control the Lodestone, being veritably unlimited and unbound by our understandings of thaumaturgy as it is today.
She leans in just as close and whispers, "It will not make you a god, it will make you human." It will give your life back to you and then make you miss it all the more and then snatch it away once you've lost the lodestone.
Looking to Seth.
I've come to grips with what I am and would not want to step back. But what the lodestone could mean to the chantries of the Midwest, what it could mean to our place in our society, can't be ignored. It's a thing of power.
I agree, and I would like to get my hands back on it.
Wait, did you say back?
Unfortunately, I had some things happen in which I could have had it in my possession, and while I was making myself prepared for that, Sylvia happened. And Dusk.
Yes, her passing has been. Wait.
And they also partially destroyed Karen's home. I'm still fixing that. Things have been very busy for me, unfortunately, especially having to be a hound as well as on top of all of this. And by the time I thought to go back and check, or thought to try to make time to go back and check where I feel like it was left, there were rumors of it having been moved and taken somewhere else. I don't know if they're true or not. I hope they are not. But that much power would call to things, would call to other beings, especially the Lupines. I've found that out in person. They are drawn to its magic and will do anything to control that magic because it can be used against them.
So, you had it, or were very near to having it. And
yes,
these rumors of what may have become of it since you lost direct control, do they lead to any specific place? Someplace we can check? Someplace I can investigate?
it's part of my worry for Cone. I haven't heard from him in some time, and he was one to often check in with me or check on me. And he seemed excited about something recently, but I haven't heard from him in a while. So I'm wondering if somehow or another, I would want to say it's possible.
So Cone is the last thread you've heard of? If that's the thread, I think the answer becomes a little simpler.
Unfortunately, yes, that would be the only reason why someone would ignore the summons into Dusable's strength.
I had actually looked forward to meeting Cone. He was part of the agreed payment for my original involvement in all of this Rose nightmare.
Yes, I believe we are on our way to Gary, Indiana.
Oh, crap. That cesspool. Gary's where you go when you can't afford to go to Florida to retire.
Well, it is the city that hope God. Standing as if that was the eureka moment, Orin slides out. James, come along, come. We have an adventure ahead of us. We will storm into the night, arriving in Gary, the city by the sea, the inland sea that is Lake Michigan, and we will...
Sire?
Yes, sir, yes.
Remember we've discussed the deep breath moment where you stop for just a second and take a deep breath.
So,
And make sure what you're about to do isn't going to have massive repercussions.
you're correct. I do apologize. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out his... gathers far more bills than is necessary, and just... That should take care of our accoutrements for the evening and for the lovely service we received. Let's come, we go. The game is afoot.
Might I suggest really quick that we stop by the one place I knew it to be before we go chasing into Gary? Just that little, but also know that we're going to need all of us to stick together, because if it is where I think it is, we're going to have to face quite a bit of possible problem getting it back. Large with teeth.
And I wouldn't mind seeing that location just for added clues. I like to put my eyeballs on a scene.
Very well. If it is a side quest that we are about, let us be going. Where might we be heading, Hestia?
And Hestia gives them the address to the very specific cemetery where Lodestone should have been buried, or was buried, in the vision that her, Dizzy, and the others had. So that cemetery.
The North Shore intimate is better than the South. However, it is further away from Gary. Unless, of course, we were to rent a boat to sail across. If that was the place where you last knew it to be, let us be off. And literally, Seth, the places outlined, well, the specific place outlined is very much the antithesis of the South suburbs. It is North Shore. It is the posh and tight-lit North Shore of Chicago. It is the area where people who have money believe others have as much money, if not more, than them.
We're talking Gold Coast?
Yes, but the northern end of the Gold Coast, they consider the Gold Coast to be the poor neighborhood. So that's the cross the track people.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Yes. You all are...
How close is the cemetery to the water?
Oh, far too close. Unfortunately. It is literally less than a mile between the cemetery and the water. There are roughly 40 small creeks, lakes, ponds. In other words, it is on the built sediment that formed that portion of the coast that has not been reclaimed by Lake Michigan.
So if we approach by boat, we won't have to go through the town at all?
Oh, you'll have to go through the town, because there's no that marsh without getting stock orders. Kindred bodies don't respond so well to you all think might very much like you do when diving into water. It would be a fight to keep forward and not be.
Well, I'm more worried about the fact that in a neighborhood like that, a strange car is going to, with strange people in it, they're going to cause a clamor.
It will.
We could approach by water, but the waters are always cold in Michigan. Maybe the limo would give us enough camouflage to get to the cemetery without too many eyeballs.
Too many is very relative. One pair of eyeballs is too many. 3 would most assuredly be far too many. Wrong assortment. I believe that James's good graces should be able to talk the locals off of any particular ledge while we conduct a thorough investigation.
Well, Oren, you're the one who does all the traveling, so maybe we should let you plan the transportation.
Oh no, I enjoy Rich's new toy. It is very, very well appointed. I'm really appreciative. You really come up. The thing that I might suggest, and it's just small, being as we will not be able to use electronic illumination, perhaps one of us should prepare a ritual of sight so that we can inspect without being inspected. Great, that's this hour of the evening, our proper shadow.
When he mentions the ritual of sight, Seth begins to closely examine the vertical of the wall because he knows he was supposed to learn that shit and did not. He skipped that chapter and does not want Orin to know.
There's a pause and a consideration, but the hint, the threat of adventure is far too much of a siren song to even attempt to narrate or to speak on, as Seth does not immediately leap to volunteering. He is very much single-minded in pursuit of his goals. He's also aware as to how that may be perceived. He would not choose a Seth standing, but no, there will be a very long ladder soon.
Yeah.
I believe this may be, as you are the leader in this particular case, maybe something that you and Melinda perhaps could work together on and outfit us properly so that we can be on our way while we take transport. I believe we're paid here. Let us depart. Adventure waits for no one. We must seize this opportunity while others may not be wary as sacrifice, especially as there may be pines in the area. James, like, no. We're not going anywhere. Got it. Unfortunately, you all left me no choice. I have to be honest. If anyone has it, it'd probably be Rose. I took steps to, when associating with mention some communication with some source in Gary in regards to finding a stone, a strange, valuable stone. They believe that it was a bit of jewelry and they were looking for buyers. I backtraced and backtracked as much as I could and set out a seeking reading spell to lock onto all of the places so that I might have it down in time and presented it to you, of course. Warren. I didn't know you were involved, Hestia, so forgive me. However, in setting far-reaching around the areas that I knew these associates of Nicole's frequented, trailing and tracking them back, that, Melinda, was the seeking that I had you to do several months ago before your flight from Esso. Each of those places that you marked off on the map, I ordered. Unfortunately, it very much did trigger the lupines of the area. If anyone has the stone, we should probably head to Gary. I didn't want to speak to Rose about this until I was absolutely sure. But if we go anywhere near those words, we will be behind me.
Celestia looks a little crestfallen, but understanding because at least in a way it's in somebody's hands, or it's possibly in somebody's hands that she knows. So there's not anger there, it's a resignation and a okay, I understand that you did what you had to do, and Melinda is very good at what she does, so yeah, I'm fine with that. At least
Orin punches him in the arm.
Oh.
You couldn't have mentioned this in the letter, April. This is of all. We will talk about this most assuredly. Agent, forgive my overstepping. Shall we go? At long last. Yeah. Of all places.
That stands and lets the regents take the lead.
Rich chuckles a little bit because Orin has been very passionate despite his wild and wandering ways. It's good to see that there is actual passion there, not fall intellectual chasing down a dream. He says, "This understand, but you're good for now. This is you should have told me." I apologize, former Regent Cross. But let us away to Gary. As you all drive towards Gary, Tyvin, Dia, would you guys put yourselves your charisma and persuasion rolls? Your target number is 3. You're going to move into a more of a cinematic thing. Literally the splitting of forces, and there's only one way. Well, there's several ways back, but to minimize the potential opportunities for foibles, we're going to settle it with one. We're going to add the combination of both Dia and Tyvin's ability to manipulate people. And you guys tell me, based on your successes, distract them further so that you can escape and abscond with either one or both of the bodies.
I hate that willpower so much.
Well, you all have the combined total I was looking for, which was 6 or better. You have a 7. How are you both manipulating the enfeebled, emotionally stunted sheriffs, police officers who are rushing back to the morgue so that you can abscond? And which bodies do you abscond with?
I'm grabbing Frost, the one I saw move. So I'm trying to get that one out. And I'm basically making a cop flail or medical examiner like a drunken teenager and laughing the whole time.
And the several officers rushing back into the area. How do you distract? What is it that you and Tyvin work out to keep those several officers? Yes, a few of them would automatically the medical examiner from kicking the shit out of the sheriff who's too big and addled for it to really count for much in the moment. But that's still some of the others.
I look at the cops coming in and I'm like, dude said he had a headache. That guy gave him something and he
it was all drugs. In other words. The flailing only ensues. Go ahead, Dia.
Yeah, it's going. We are not taking Rob. There is no point. I'm not gonna waste effort. I hate to say that, but I'm not gonna waste effort trying to get a second body that's already broken open and bloodied out. Especially because it still looks mostly human, so I don't know how much information they'd be able to get from it anyway. We need to get Rob out, so I am going to kind of run interference while Ty is saying what he's saying. Like, I'm kind of gonna be a little closer to the scramble of cops. Like, again, the hysterical little woman pointing at Rob's body, like, it moved, I saw it move, I swear to God, I saw it move. And she's like freaking out and screeching and keeping, it's like, look at me, keep looking at me, so that Ty can kind of get Rob's body out to the car. And then once they're clear, she'll kind of be consoled and calm down, and then say, I just need to go home and meet Ty so they can leave.
What's Tyvin's strength?
Oh, Tyvin is weak as hell. He's just a gurney.
Oh, that might be a problem.
There's always a problem when it comes to trying to do things a neat and clean way. A kindred freshly risen needs Vitae. There is no ifs and buts about it. There's a very risk that a kindred first roused either feed or fall into torpor, requiring strong blood to rouse them from their sleep. The fact that the human you saw speaking out at the trial of Naomi is suddenly a kindred, the fact the kindred that was a kindred is now deceased, there's a lot of things up in the air. But the one thing that is not up in the air is the fact that you both managed to pull the officer's eyes and keep them busy. The ME literally was a bad person, but not for the reasons you all outlined. Well, mostly not for the reasons that you all outlined. In the ensuing fight and the fracas, it comes to light that the ME actually mean. Well, they are, but when you put hands on a cop with such skill, even without such strength, questions. It doesn't take long to verify that the identity used by the medical examiner is not exactly real. Rob lies in states, as it were, together and settle what they need to settle, which is handcuff, running the ME's information, and pulling her clothes and squirting off the area. And because of everything that has happened, no one's quite aware or quite noticed that you two sneaking out with a body on a gurney. Driving away from Ingalls Hospital as the 5 wizards drive away the Salt and Pepper Lounge on the north side of Chicago. We end our episode with the standard for our Chicago. One of the standards for our Chicago is, what is Chicago? Some of the things that make Chicago what it is. It's indescribable ability to be everything to someone and something to everyone. It is a city where standing up for one's beliefs, right, wrong, or indifferent, gives and earns more respect than simply doing the right thing. Standing up for what you believe in, willing to put it all on the line, willing to risk it, even if you know that you're going to get your ass beat, and even knowing if you're going to lose. The fact that you were willing to speak power, maybe just crack a really good your mama joke to the wrong person, has value and it carries weight. And in this evening, the kindred of Dolton have managed to take several steps into putting their fingers on the live wire of power, daring to do in the face of adversity, coming to grips the true monstrousness that even us humans carry with us on a daily basis. We didn't know what Chicago is, and as in by the Dolton who are willing to do the unthinkable, have managed a level of success heretofore imagined. And as everyone speeds on their way, I want to thank you all for a lovely session. I look forward to seeing you next episode. Good night, everybody.
Night. What? What? Who? The secret flaw for diablerie?